Hello my friends, and welcome back to another video, or welcome if you are new. My name is Erin and today we are doing a reading vlog, but I will be reading 5 new horror book releases. I haven't really read horror a lot this year because last year horror and we had a little bit of a falling out. So I'm trying again and I'm picking some books that I think I will have a very good chance of liking, and books that I'm very excited to read and that I'm really excited that have recently just come out. So I thought it would be fun to do a little horror new releases reading vlog and take you all along on the journey, so that way if you are also excited to read any of these books and you want to know some thoughts and reviews going into them, here you can find my thoughts. So that's pretty much it. I'm also reading these books for Old School April, which is a readathon that I'm participating in. I have the info linked down below if you haven't heard of it or you want to participate. I'll be logging all these books for the Candyman crew because that is the team that I'm a part of. So yeah, I guess that's it. That's pretty much all that I needed to touch on. Let's get reading these horror books and see if they are any good. Alright, so I have been reading Shy Girl by Mia Ballard, and I do have an update. I'm a little teeny tiny over halfway. I'm on page 128, chapter 18. This is a wild story so far. I'm actually really enjoying it, which I think says a lot about me, because when I tell you what the story is about, you're probably gonna be like, Erin, why are you liking this? But I'm messed up, okay? So in this book, we are following Gia, which, look, I'm not saying anything, but the fact that the author's name is Mia and the main character's name is Gia is so unbelievably funny to me. It's like if I wrote a book and, you know, it was like, by Erin, and my main character was, I don't know what name is like Erin, but like Karen, but it was spelled like K-E-R-I-N, and the only difference was the K there. I just think that's so funny. It's just so close to Mia that it's making me laugh. It's like that meme where when you're in high school and you're like, hey, can I copy your homework? Okay, but just don't make it look obvious. It's just funny. It's like, okay, whatever. Anyways, we're following Gia. She's 30 years old. She just got fired and she's very behind on her rent. And she's kind of freaking out because obviously she needs money. She's applying to all these jobs, but she's not getting anything tangible. So she decides to go onto a sugar baby dating site, and she meets this man named Nathan. And he's like, hello. So he offers her money in exchange for being his pet. For like 8 hours, she's gonna come in, pretend to be a dog, be his dog, you know, listen to his commands, and she'll get paid. And she's gonna get paid like $2,400 a week, which is insane. When I saw that, I was like, well, I kind of get it. I'm not gonna lie. $2,400 is a lot of money. You know, things have happened. Things have happened. This is a very interesting story so far. Now, Gia has OCD, and I love reading books about characters that have OCD. Gia is very obsessed with symmetry and perfection, and it's definitely about control for her, because so many things are out of her control. Like, she's been fired, she can't pay her rent, she has no money. All of these things she can't control. But what she can control is how many times she counts things, how she folds her clothes, how many steps she takes, how many, like, I mean, she can control that, and I think that's a very relatable part for me. I really do relate to Gia in that aspect. She's got a lot of anxiety. She's like an hour early to places. Like, if they decide to meet at 2 p.m., she's there by 1 p.m., which sounds so funny, but also I do get it. Like, I do understand her to an extent, and she feels very relatable in that sense. She's also very relatable because she's 30. I just turned 30. And she has this best friend who has like this picture perfect life. She has a marriage, she has a kid, she has a steady flow of income, you know, like everything seems what the ideal life at 30 should be. And Gia obviously doesn't have that. She's been fired. She can't pay her rent. She's getting a job through a sugar baby dating site. And, you know, that's something that isn't normal. And I like that because I think at 30, a lot of people feel like they're not where they should be. They're not at that perfect spot that you should be at 30. They don't have that ideal life. And a lot of people are choosing to be child-free now, so that obviously, you know, is different than the norm of getting married and having 2.5 kids, right? I do really like Gia as a character. She's very interesting to me. I do find a lot of her very, very, very relatable. And then you put her in this situation that is just so wild and so out there. And I can't help but laugh. Like, this book is making me laugh. And it's not like funny. It's not like humorous. It's just so wild and insane that I can't help but laugh. But it is good. Like, I am into it. I'm very intrigued. I feel like I do know how the end is going to play out. I don't feel like there are too many ways for this book to end, but I have seen a movie that is very similar to this kind of plot, so I'm sure that I can draw conclusions just from my knowledge of that movie. But I'm still really excited to read it and finish it, and I'm having a good time, weirdly enough. It's fun. Again, I think that says a lot about me, but I am having fun with it. So yeah, I'm gonna continue, and I will let you all know what my rating is and how I feel when I finish it. So I'll check in here soon. Oh. Oh my god. Oh, this is disgusting. Oh my god. Oh. I don't want to read this. Oh my god, I don't want to read this. Oh, I don't know if I can read this. Oh my god. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Ugh. Ugh. What am I reading? What am I reading? What is this? Okay, so I indeed finished Shy Girl, and this was such a weird book. I'm glad I enjoyed it because I feel like lately I've been so disappointed with horror, but this was a lot of fun. It was enjoyable. It's so gross sometimes, so definitely be mindful. There are some triggers in here. I know it has a little warning at the beginning of the book, so if you do want to know what kind of like triggers and stuff to be mindful of, it would probably be a good idea to check that out before you do read it. But there were some really gross things. I was getting a little about some of the details that were mentioned and stuff like that. So pay attention to that if it's something that you think you need to look at. I liked that this book was kind of about control. Gia is trying to control her life as best as she can because so many things are out of her control. Then she gets into this situation where she loses control because she's pretending to be a dog and she's, you know, obeying and answering to these commands, and her control is completely taken away from her. And then at the end, she gains that control back in a very in a very interesting way. She gains control back, but I did like that that was kind of the underlying theme, you know, was control and controlling your life, and in different ways. Obviously the control was in very different ways each time. I just thought that was a very interesting discussion, I guess, a very unique way to approach control as the topic, I can't lie. You know, I will say the ending was surprising but not surprising at the same time. I did see a lot of it coming because things started happening and it was easy to, you know, fit pieces together. There were some things that caught me off guard, so I do have to give the book applause for that. Like, I do have to give it congratulations for surprising me a little bit. I don't think this book will be for everyone. Definitely not. I have never read this book, but it reminds me a lot of what I've heard people talking about in terms of, or in regards to the book Night Bitch. So if you did like that book, you might like this book. I think they have similar things going on. I can't, you know, say that 100% because I've never read that book, but from what I've heard from other people, they do sound like they have similar stuff in common. So if you did like that, you might want to check this out. Very bizarre little book. I will probably give it 4 stars. I can't give it 5 because it was a little weird for me, a little too weird in certain aspects, and I don't love overly weird horror, but it was still enjoyable and it was still fun, and I did like how it ended and the overall, you know, I did like the overall story. So I have to give it props for being what it is. So I'll probably give this 4 stars. I have therapy next, which honestly, kind of perfect timing because I need therapy after reading this book, to be honest. So I don't know what I'm gonna read next, but I'll probably pick one of the books that I have in my little pile of options and start reading that after therapy's over, and I'll come and update you all when I've started reading it and kind of have an idea of what the book is about and some things to talk about. So I will check in just a little bit. Hello, I'm here for an update. So I was gonna update you all earlier, but I had a COVID shot this morning and then I passed out for like, how long was I asleep? Like 4 hours? For like 4 hours. So I did start my next book and I went with Strange Pictures by Uketsu. I have been dying to read this. This is originally a Japanese novel. I'm reading the translated version, obviously, because I don't know how to read Japanese. Wish I did, but I do not. Anyways, I think this author is very interesting. This author goes by like Uketsu and they wear a white mask and like a body little thing, like the little blackout body outfit, and like no one knows what they look like, and the voice is digitally distorted, so no one knows this person's true identity, which I think is very interesting. Apparently they're on YouTube as well, which I don't know, that just fascinates me. And he has two books, Strange Pictures and Strange Houses. So I'm assuming Strange Houses is like a sequel to this. But I am enjoying this. Let's see how far I am. I'm 106-ish pages. I'm about to start chapter 3. The chapters are pretty long because each chapter is like a new story, but all the stories are connected. So you're more or less just getting more information, but you're just following different characters each chapter, but it all relates to like this big overarching story from what I can gather. Pictures in here, so that's really cool. They all have to do with pictures. Like the stories all have pictures involved and the pictures mean something, and it's very weird. It's kind of eerie. It's not necessarily like scary to me, but it is very like weird, and I do feel enamored by this story. It says it's a Japanese mystery horror, so I'm wondering if it's gonna lean more mystery than it is horror, or if they're gonna be more even. I'm not really sure, but I do really like the addition of the pictures. I think that's really fun, and I don't know, it's pleasing to my eyes to be able to like look and digest and dissect the pictures while I'm also reading these stories and trying to connect pieces and figure out what's going on. I don't want to give too much about this story away because I feel like this story will be really good for going into blind. I mean, I tend to like doing that anyways, and I do that a lot, especially when I'm doing book reading vlogs, especially when I do reading vlogs. I like to go in blind because I feel like my reactions are more authentic and more genuine, and they don't feel as rehearsed while I'm reading it. I feel like I can give you just like my straight initial first impressions, and it feels just more authentic. So I definitely think going into this more on the blind side would be helpful, so I don't want to tell you too much, but the pictures are really cool. The story so far it's just intriguing. It's not, again, super scary. It just feels bizarre, and it leaves you wanting to keep reading because you're just wanting to figure out what's really going on with everything. These little bits and pieces and little bite-sized stories that you're getting are, I don't know, it's almost like it's not enough, so I just want to keep reading to get to the big picture. So far I am having fun with this. I do love Japanese horror. It's some of my absolute favorite, so I knew I would probably enjoy this one, but I'm having a good time. I can't wait to see what it entails and what the actual story is, because I'm really in the dark right now. So I will check in when I finish this one, and hopefully I'll have more to tell you. Okay, it took me like a billion years to read Strange Pictures, but I have in fact finished. I blame the COVID shot, not my enjoyment of the book, because this book is actually very short and quick to flip through, and it's a very easy read. I don't want the amount of time it took me to read this book sway you in how good this book is. I was just not feeling very good, so I was barely reading and had to just read it in like chunks. I will say though, now that I have finished, I personally would not classify this as a horror book. I think this is more of a dark and eerie mystery. I definitely think this leans way more mystery than horror. I can kind of see why some people would classify this as horror, because it does go to the darker side of mystery, and I think some of the elements involved are a little less, I don't know, I feel like when you read a mystery, it doesn't go like too dark. Now, there are some mysteries that really go dark, but I feel like if you don't read a lot of dark literature or like horror in general, I can definitely see people thinking this is darker than just a plain old mystery and classifying it as horror. But as someone who reads a lot of horror and has read a lot of horror, I would not personally classify this as a horror book. I would classify it as just like a darker, eerier mystery. I loved the experience of reading this book. I love the pictures, I love the diagrams. I think it makes the reading experience more interesting and it gets you more like involved because you are also trying to figure out what's going on with all the pictures that you find, and you're trying to solve it just as much as the people involved in the story are, you know? So I like that each chapter gives you more pictures, it's giving you more information, it's giving you kind of a different little side story, but it's all one big story. So I think the reading experience of this book is very, very fun. I think I was just expecting it to be more of a horror book. I think I genuinely thought it was going to be like a really creepy horror story. I do think it is pretty creepy and eerie because some of the pictures, they're just like looking at the pictures, honestly, kind of give you the chills. It's not necessarily because they look scary. I think it's just the idea of someone drawing that and then you looking at it for clues just makes you feel a certain type of way. So I think the addition of the pictures does make this book feel more interesting and more spooky, if you will. I think I expected a little bit more from it. I did like the overall story. I thought it was pretty interesting and it did have some good like twists and turns that I wasn't expecting. So I will probably give this, I don't know, I want to give it a 4. I think that's probably being a little generous, but also I really did like it. So it's kind of like a 3.75, 4-star. It's like right in that realm. Because it was fun. I just think I thought it was gonna be, you know, a little bit different. But I think if you like books like Janice Hallett's mysteries, I think if you like the appeal and stuff like that, you might enjoy this book. It was good. It was fun. I just wanted a little bit more in terms of horror from it, I think. So, you know, still solid. Not my favorite, but I did enjoy it. I have 3 books that I really want to get to for the rest of the vlog. That's The Unworthy, Victorian Psycho, and The Lamb. And I don't know in what order I want to read these, and I don't know what I'm feeling next, but I'm definitely going to pick one of these to read, obviously, because I'm going to read these 3 are going to be completed in this video, but I just don't know in what order. So I'm going to pick one, start reading it, and hopefully finish it here soon because I'm running a little behind since I had to take a small little break from my vaccine because that kind of hit me like a truck. So yeah, I'm going to pick one of these and start reading and hopefully update you all very, very soon. Sad. Aww. That is sad. Didn't expect to be hurt by a book about cannibals again. Okay, I finished The Lamb by Lucy Rose, and honestly, this book hurt my feelings. I I'm so surprised because I feel like there should be a category of cannibal books that hurt my feelings, because this is one of them. I really thought this was gonna be just I don't know what I thought this was gonna be. Maybe just an average kind of lit fic sort of cannibalistic book. I knew it was about cannibals, right? Like I knew that. But I didn't really know what kind of story I was really getting into, which is why I like reading books blind, because I don't think I would have had this emotional experience if I had known what this kind of story was about. But in this book, we're following Margot and her mama. Margot and her mama live in kind of a foresty area. They live in a little cottage. They're very secluded in the area where they live, and they kind of just live waiting for passerbys to knock on their door. They call them strays, and when these strays knock on their door, they invite them in. They give them a little place to get comfortable, to dry off, to warm up, and then they kill them and they eat them. And then one day they encounter someone knocking on their door, and it's this woman named Eden. However, Eden is very different from the typical people that knock on their door. Eden is very different. Really, as soon as Eden arrives, the dynamic severely changes. I believe a lot of people won't like this book. It's very slow in a sense because it feels like nothing's really happening. The book itself is very quick to read because the chapters are really short. It's a very quick read. I read it in one go. I didn't even have time to update you all because it was just so fast to read, and I wanted to finish it before I came to talk to you all because I just felt like I needed to read the entire book, which is a good thing I did because I feel like if I had checked in halfway through, I would have had very different feelings than when I finished it. This book is a lot about Margot and her mama, and then Margot, her mama, and Eden. It's a lot about their life and how they live, and really just the dynamic, because Margot and her mama have a very complicated relationship. They are mother and daughter, but their bond isn't a typical mother-daughter relationship. There isn't a lot of love, especially on mama's side. I feel like the love that Margot has for her mama is there, and it's probably the strongest bond that exists in the beginning. I feel like their bond is just interesting because it's really their situation that bonds them, not necessarily the love. They're tied together because of what they do, how they live. They are by themselves in this cottage together. They kill people and eat them. And I mean they loosely because Margot's really young. Margot's like, I think she's like 11 or so she's not really doing the killing. She's just there. I mean, she knows to an extent what's happening, but I think she's just very used to it. This is what she knows. This is how she grew up. So she doesn't really see anything weird about it. It's normal for her. So she's bonded by the fact that this is all she knows, and she experiences it with her mama, and they eat these people together. Like, that's their bond. That bond is so different when Eden shows up because Eden really stirs up some trouble when she shows up. She really causes a whole bunch of chaos coming into the picture, and she really changes the dynamic, the direction, everything. I mean, she changes the whole enchilada, you know what I mean? It takes such a drastic turn, and the turn I did kind of see coming. I expected it only because I feel like if you read a lot of, I was gonna say a lot of cannibal stories. I mean, I guess so. If you read a lot of cannibal stories, you could probably guess in what direction this goes into, but it doesn't make it less impactful just because I knew. It still was really sad. It reminded me a lot of Brother by Anya Alborn, and I'm saying this very loosely. Don't go into it expecting Brother by Anya Alborn, because they are very different books. They have very different styles, and the plots are very different, but there is some things about them that they have in common, and I couldn't help but when I read this thinking about Brother, because Brother is such a painful horror book. It's also about cannibals, and it's so sad. Like, so sad. The ending is devastating. I feel like this ending is also so devastating. Kind of also reminds me of Tender as the Flesh in terms of like a devastating ending where you think you're reading just this cannibal book, but there's so much more happening and so much more going on, and dang, I'm sad. This book made me sad. I didn't expect to be emotionally hurt by this book, but I did. I really liked it though. I really did. I can see a lot of people hating it, for sure. I can see a lot of people hating it, but I think because it has a lot of things that I do enjoy, complicated mother-daughter relationships, cannibals, that emotionally devastating impact, I do love that, even though it, you know, really hurts. I do love books that have that. It kind of had all the makings to really make me love this one. I'm not sure what I'm gonna rate it, but right now it's feeling like a 4.5. I could bump it up to a 5-star, depending on if I keep thinking about it, because I feel like this ending could make me just think and think and think and think. So it could go up, but I really did like this one. It's funny because it feels like an average cannibal book, but there are a lot of other good messages throughout about women and their place in the world and anger and feelings, and I don't know, it had a lot of good stuff in here. I really enjoyed it, even though it hurt very badly. But so far, this is definitely my fave of the vlog. I really liked this one. Next up is going to be The Unworthy by Agustina Bazterrica. I am also very excited for this one because Tender as the Flesh, which I just talking about this one, is one of my favorite books. So I'm hoping I like this one. I've seen some mixed reviews, so I'm nervous, but I'm gonna read this one next, and it looks very short, so hopefully I will finish that one up really quick and I can tell you my thoughts fairly soon, and hopefully I like it maybe as much as Tender as the Flesh. I don't think that's gonna be possible, but hopefully I like it a little bit like I liked Tender as the Flesh. So I guess we'll see, but I will check in when I've read this one. Okay, so I'm about to film my March wrap up, and I wanted to come on and give you all an update. I did finish The Unworthy last night, and I didn't like this very much. I'm so sad. I'm so heartbroken. This story is about our main character who is in this convent, and all the women in the convent, they all want to ascend to this level of the enlightened, okay? That's their ultimate goal. That's like what they are striving for. But one day this new woman stumbles upon the convent and she joins, and our main character and her strike up this relationship, and she starts questioning, what is the enlightened? Why should she want to be one? Does she actually want to be one? And she starts really questioning what's going on. Well, let's start with one thing that I didn't like about this book. This book has no chapters, which if you've watched any of my videos before, I hate books with no chapters. I find it to be one of the biggest annoyances that I find with books. I like having chapters, or even parts, like if you break it up into part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, whatever. Just sections that indicate an end or a pause, I prefer to have. And while this book does have a lot of page pauses where you can clearly stop and put your book down, it's not the same as having a definite end, like a chapter end or a part end. So it's just a little bothersome thing that I can't stand. The other thing, It's not that I didn't like it about this book, I just don't know if it necessarily worked for me. This book is all written as journal entries. So we are reading the journal entries of the main character, and we're reading what she's writing down, what she's telling us, what she's seeing, what she's experiencing. We also get some flashback parts where she tells us things that happened before she came to the convent, because she gets her memories back. No one really remembers who they were before the convent, and so she does, and she starts writing it down and telling us, you know, what happened before, what she encountered. I just think that the cult aspect of this story, which it is, it's a cult story, I just personally don't think it was done very well. It feels very generic. It feels very surface level. It feels like a lot of cult stories. I expected more, honestly, from the author who wrote Tender is the Flesh, because that book was so intriguing and I had such visceral reactions to it that I was expecting to have the same experience with this one, and I didn't. I was just kind of bored, and it's a really quick read. It's only 170 some pages, so it reads really quick, and I wanted it over faster than it was, which is sad because I read it in one sitting, so that was disappointing. There was also this like apocalyptic edition that I just didn't really care for, but also I didn't really understand why it was needed. I mean, I understand what the author was trying to do and why it was there, like, to propel the story, but it was just, it felt bizarre. It just felt weird. I didn't really like it. I didn't feel like it meshed well. I don't know, the ending was just kind of flat. The book overall was kind of flat for me, so I don't know if it's my fault because I expected so much from this book because I loved Tender is the Flesh so deeply, that I just expected too much from this book or what, but it was just really disappointing. I'm probably gonna give it 2.5 stars, honestly, which is really upsetting. I'm really sad about that. I would love to give it higher, but I just can't because I really didn't enjoy my time with it, and I didn't really think it was fun or entertaining. It was just kind of bizarre and surreal in a way that I didn't like. So yeah, I'm disappointed. This is probably my least favorite book of the vlog so far, which really sucks. I had high hopes for this one. The last book that I'm going to be reading in this vlog is Victorian Psycho by Virginia Fado. I don't know how to pronounce this author's name. I've heard people say it. I need to look at how people are pronouncing this author's last name, but I'm going to read this one. It's also very short. I've heard great things. It's supposed to be gothic and bloody and gory, and I'm excited. Hopefully I like it as much as everyone else, but I'm going to start reading this after I am done filming for today because I have a few videos that I gotta get done. So I will hopefully finish this today. It seems like I could if I read it fast enough, so I will come back and let you know what I think once I have finished this one, and then we'll finish the vlog. So friends, I did it. I finished Victorian Psycho. This is the last book in this vlog, so let's talk about it. I did not know that this took place during Christmas, so it definitely feels a little bit out of season, but now that I know that, this will be fun to reread during Christmas time for sure. So this story, we are following the main character, Winifred Naughty. She is a governess for this family. She just started and she has a very interesting internal monologue. Her thoughts are very bizarre and things just get more and more wild the longer that she works for this family and the closer it gets to Christmas. I do feel like this book is a little bit overhyped, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that a lot of people have been talking about how gruesome and gory and messed up and disturbing this book is. So I had like really high expectations in my head when I started this. I was like, oh yeah, it's gonna be really gruesome and gory and messed up. Oh, I can't wait. And then I started reading it and I was like, eh. And that's not to say that I can't see why other people might feel that way towards this book. I think for someone like me who is a very seasoned horror reader, this just didn't surprise me. It felt very average in terms of gore and horror and gruesomeness. I think there were some scenes where I was like, oh, okay, now we're talking. But it just never really like pushed it to where I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. So I do feel like it's a little overhyped in terms of how people are talking about this book, but I do think the book is good. I think it's fun. I enjoyed it. It actually made me laugh more than it made me do anything else. Like, I just found this book very funny. Winifred is one of those characters where she just has some interesting thoughts. This is very much a supporting women's wrongs type of book. We support women's rights and women's wrongs, and some wrongs do occur in this book. A lot of wrongs occur in this book, but I think it was a fun time. It was enjoyable. It was easy to read. I feel like you know, you get a little glimpse into the Victorian era if you're not wanting to read like a really long, kind of dry Victorian story. I think this is a good substitution because it's very short. It doesn't feel like you're reading something really old. It does feel more modern in a sense, but with that Victorian edge still there. So I think this would be good because I'm someone, I can't read that kind of stuff because my brain reads the dialogue and I'm like, what are you talking about? What does that mean? My brain is just it's not good at that. So I think if you're like me, this would be a little bit easier if you want a Victorian type story. I think you still get that Christmassy atmosphere with it without it being too overwhelming. Like, of course, I'm reading it in April, and I don't think it really made a difference, to be honest. It didn't really bother me. It wasn't overly Christmas to the point where I was like, I'm reading it in the wrong season. There are some trigger warnings. Nothing really bothered me, but I would definitely look some up if you are worried that you might find something in here that you don't like, because there are some gruesome, gory parts. They just didn't really bother me. But yeah, overall it was a little bit predictable. I feel like I knew what I was getting once I started reading it. Nothing really shocked me, but it was a fun time. Very kind of silly. It was silly but serious at the same time, which I liked. It wasn't too overly goofy. So I had a good time. I would probably give this 4 stars, and yeah, I think this is a good book to end the vlog on because it feels more like a high note than a sour note. But overall, the 5 books that we read, I feel like they were all pretty good. I think the only dud, obviously, was The Unworthy, which was my least favorite out of this group. And then I still think my favorite was The Lamb. This was definitely the winner out of this group. It was my favorite. I had the best time reading this one. But that is going to do it, my friends, for this reading vlog. I hope you enjoyed watching me read these books and hear my thoughts on them. I would love to hear your thoughts on these books down below. If you agree, disagree, I'd love to know. If you want to know my opinions on any other books, please leave them down in the comments so I can add them to my TBR or make a mental note so I know what to film next. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. That way I know you enjoy reading vlogs and I can keep doing them for you all. If you haven't already, feel free to subscribe to my channel. We can become friends, talk about books, horrifying books, thrilling books, romance books, manga, fantasy, all kinds of stuff. And with that being said, I hope you are having a great day, night, morning, afternoon, wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!